Hi again, welcome to day 9 now. So yesterday I finished up sort of wondering whether or not I had been over-optimizing and over-complicating the project before actually getting a final working bot working. So here's the thing though, so I've started it now. I do need to do this eventually and I enjoy it, so I'm just going to carry on with this, and I thought it might be useful to explain what I'm doing and why. So I put together this little diagram in Excalibur. So essentially what I'm building now are two main components, if you like, two master structures. So firstly, there's the bot framework. This is where all of the major initialization of the bot is going to be set up. So this is where my opinionated description of what a optimal pipeline should look like will go. So there's the transport setup done there, there's the pipeline setup, and within that the individual services such as like the DeepGram, OpenAI, the speech to text, LLM, and text to speech components basically. Then there's like events where you're setting up some common things that happen when participants join, when they leave, etc., or errors. And then there's the framework configuration, which is just a way to handle getting things from the environment variables. Previously, the variables were fetched from environment variables, scattered across the system, and I may want to update those in runtime, for example, so not necessarily for environment variables. So this way, with this system, you can first load them from the environment and then modify them in runtime if you like. And then there's the actual bot configuration part, which is just going to be where you set up the system prompt or the call flow, potentially some greeting and farewell messages, and possibly like the voice, just some stuff I'll figure out later, essentially. And you'll have then a bunch of different bots, which I will want to put into this because I'm not just going to have a lead qualification bot. There's a bunch of bots I want to convert to this platform, and these will just be in the bot directory. I'll make one bot directory with the different names, essentially, and do that. So that's the plan. So I'm going to carry on developing this sort of framework so that it aligns with my vision, if you like. Okay, so I wanted to get some analysis on what I've got left to do. So what I've got actually is I have the code base before and after from yesterday. So this is actually from my dev branch. The before is the dev branch, and the after is the new refactor basebot branch. So if I show you here, there's a difference basically between here and here. And I've just shown given the raw code there, and I thought I'd give this to Claude together with a screenshot of the Excalibur thing, and I've asked it, given you a before and after in a diagram, how close am I basically? Didn't much like its analysis is the thing, so I decided maybe this is a job for O1, because I have O1 and I haven't really been using it much. So here we go. Now the thing is, I can't attach files to this, so I'll tell you what I did. Right, so I went into Sublime Text. I decided I would use XML for this, so it was like code before, after, and back into the file you get your code, copy into the before, after. That was a cool little Chinese robot that can do acrobatics, by the way. You should really check that out. And then there's this after, so you paste that in there, copy the question, and I got a pretty good answer then. So just to be clear, so I copied this into there, and then I copied the question from Claude minus this last little query to not include code in your analysis. I thought it might actually give me some code, but no, it just gave me some really good analysis. What's interesting is that I actually was going to keep most of the configuration for now in code, actually. But it's suggesting that I just go straight to putting this into a configuration like a YAML or a JSON. I think I'm going to do that in stages. So we'll see. Okay, so I've followed up with OON a little bit. You can have a read of it here. So I thanked it for its analysis and said that I want to actually follow a staged development process where I'm first keeping the bot configuration in code under a server bots directory and then fully decouple the framework parts. Then I'd like to look at moving the bot config from code to a JSON format. At that point, I think the vestigial bot Python codes may possibly be unifiable into a kind of bot config loader. What do you think? Well, essentially it's saying that this is a good strategy. It's exactly the right staged approach. Good luck. I have to say I was hoping for a little bit more guidance there, but no worries. I will probably now go through the code, plan this, see if I can get some documents put together with either O1, Claude, DeepSeek, whatever, and then get to it. A little side note, so in cursor settings, in the full settings, if you go to features, there's been always a feature here where you can parse documents. Now, I used to have Vappy and Bland and all this stuff in here. I've deleted it. The issue I used to have actually is that when I gave it the LiveKit docs, it just wouldn't parse that at all. You wouldn't get any pages. Now it's like that's working. So I gave it the Pipecat docs, and I mean, it says it's failed, but it has got some of them, and that might just be good enough. So they've improved this scraper, and I'm going to just maybe kick this off again. I think if you hold shift click. Okay, so we'll see how that goes. Anyway, as far as what I'm doing, I'm going to have to basically fix this flow hallucination situation here. Just roll that back as far as possible to the previous implementation, and then I'm going to explain to the reasoner model that I want to get rid of all the extra parts here. So essentially want to make the system prompt and the flow config fully parameterizable, so you can just pass that or set something on the base bot, whether that be a helper function or adding it through the constructor. First you do the super class one and then you set your own variable there. But to do that I have to have it has to have good code to reason from, and at the moment this is broken, so I just have to fix that first. So I'm going to work on that. I've just been doing some testing and it turns out it's actually, this flow bot isn't quite as broken as I thought, because if we do a comparison, flowbot, it's actually not that bad, right? It's just the flow config has been mostly broken, which is why it can't figure out where to transition to. So I can just put a lot of this back in the flow config, and the rest is actually not too bad. Yeah, pretty cool. So I've switched back to Windsurf because I like Windsurf. The main problem I'm having with Cursor is when I make edits between calls to the agent, between queries to the agent doesn't care, doesn't have that updated context, and just overwrites the work I've done in its next step, and that's extremely frustrating. Whereas Cascade, which is Windsurf's agent, does get that context and takes note of the changes you make between them. So anyway, I had a obvious bug that I had to fix, and I just wanted to see how it would handle it. So I told it that I get the error about a missing base URL in the configuration when I run the flow config, and I gave it as context the flowbot file and the server file, but I didn't give it the config actually as context. I want to see what it would do. So it did all right. It figured out that the base URL is not defined in the main application config, right? And then it did see that there was a local config declared where it is done. So then it actually made two configs there, right? So I said, yeah, okay. So actually what it decided to do was just hard code the base URL at first. And then I said that there is a local config there that I think you should be using. So it did that. But that's when it made another config in addition to the app config, you see. So I said, why are the two different configs there. And you make a good point. So then it added it to the app config. So then I explained, actually, I don't want the Calcom API config in the config, since that's strictly for server app-specific config. The Calcom interface is actually a tool that will be used by bots and needs to remain self-contained and decoupled from the other components. It's like, I understand now. And then it did it perfectly. So, yeah. I'll continue with Cascade for now. I can't help but feeling, though, that it got lucky with the context, because it did only read the first 200 lines of the code, and that happened to be enough context for it to figure things out. But the issue I was having before actually was reading chunks of 50 and selecting too little context to solve problems. So we'll see how it goes. I'm going to keep using it though, because I do like Cascade. Actually, forgot to mention what it didn't do after I gave it this instruction is figure out that it needs to remove the Calcom configuration from everywhere in the main config. So I'm just going to do that manually. But it's a shame that it didn't figure that out, because I mean, I would think that's pretty obvious. So there's this, Calcom needs to go, and also this. Now Calcom is nowhere to be found in the main configuration, and the configurations are looking good. So made and checked in just those two little changes, and now it does seem like everything's working in the flow config, including the booking. So I'm just going to test that out now. I'm just that confident that's going to work live. I can always delete this clip afterwards if it doesn't.
Hello, thanks for calling. May I have your name, please?
Yeah, that would be John. Hello?
Thanks, John. Let's get you set up with a quick demo so you can see firsthand how this will help your business. Let me check our calendar for the best available time. Let's get you set up with a quick demo so you can see firsthand how this will help your business. I see we have availability on Friday, January 24 or Saturday, January 25. Which day would work better for you?
Let's do Saturday.
Great choice. We have a couple of slots on Saturday, January 25, 12 a.m. or 12 p.m. Which time works best for you?
12 p.m. would be better.
Excellent. I confirmed your demo for Saturday, January 25 at 12 p.m. You'll receive a calendar invitation shortly with all the details. You can join using the link. Google me ATT, meet Google, come to Zexikivai. If there's nothing else you'd like to know about the demo, I want to thank you and wish you a wonderful day ahead.
Thanks. Bye. Yeah. Okay. So obviously the prompt needs some work, but I mean the actual booking has worked in my calendar. I'll just show that. That's appeared. And also, I think I should get something in my email. Okay. Yep, here we go. cal.com. Let me just show the timestamp as well. So, okay, everything there. So then, that's the other one. Show in Finder. There we go. Okay, so as you can tell, it's using default values as in unknown name, tester.example.com. So I haven't written the actual flow node that will capture my email address yet. There's going to be some interesting prompting going on there that I'll tell you about. And also, it's probably going to have to default. I mean, if there's an issue, I'll have to send a link by text or email anyway. But yeah, we'll get to that. Okay, so following the modifications to fix the config, what I did was get the latest version of my code in a single file using this command here and gave it to O1. So this is the latest code. Asked it to produce a detailed plan for a junior developer. And it has done so. So what I'm going to do now is copy this put it into the Documents Tasks folder, and then so I might get Cascade to do it, might get Claude via Cascade to do it right away, or I might actually open Cursor and get DeepSeek to do more analysis. See how it goes. Yeah, okay, so a little quirk that might interest people. So apparently when you copy from the Mac OS ChatGPT app and paste, just do that again, it just pastes a text format. So if you want to get it in Markdown, which I do, you have to go to the web app, and then you'll get the Markdown. Interesting. Okay, so I asked Cascade to read and understand all of the refactor plan. It didn't manage to get all the way through that, but I mean, I hoped that it would be able to get through the very first step at least without the summary at the bottom that's there. Anyway, so it created this, and this is the first part that it made, so it's pretty much just a summary of the summary. Not very helpful. So I told it, it's not what I want. Actually, I want you to go through the code base in the server folder, and based on the first step of stage 1, and put that a detailed guide on how you're going to do that. And this is the thing, this is why I stopped using Windsurf actually, because it only checked the first 200 lines. And that's fine for actually the simple bot, because there's fewer than 200 lines, but here this is not good enough, right? So what it's done is not actually seen the parts that it needs to move to the base implementation. So I'm going to abandon Windsurf again and get back to Cursor. Yeah, check it out. DeepSeek has nailed it. That's the query and the result and the thinking, and this is the output. So now to get Sonnet to get going on this. Okay, so ended up not getting quite as much time as I wanted to code today, but did manage to get the abstraction done. So now essentially we do have a bot framework which handles the repeated scaffolding, which lives over in here. And then the domain-specific logic is captured in the individual bot implementations, which are these two things here. And they work. So I'll just take you through how I achieved this. I've also, by the way, now pushed this to the main branch and added a README and license, MIT license, so just have at it. So let's just go through what I did. So yeah, I started, as I mentioned, with a refactoring plan, and I got DeepSeek to expand on it. But here's the thing. So the initial plan from O2 wanted to abstract away wanted to parameterize the configuration of the system prompt and the flow config. And I actually didn't want to do that. So I redid the implementation plan with O2. And then I put that into there was a tasks folder here, since deleted. So then I got DeepSeek to analyze that and put together a plan on how to implement it. And then I let Claude go ahead and make those changes. So let's see. Yep, so this is the parameterization one, which I didn't like. So ended up just changing that, and then gave it again, and then it came up with the plan to properly capture all the scaffolding within the bot framework, and that's all done. And this is Claude actually doing the implementation. And this was just, yeah, it turns out this wasn't necessary, this next step. And then I did some other refactoring myself. Then we reorganized the project so that rather than having folders with flow and simple bot, there's now just the bots folder. And started making a README with this, and it was really not doing a very good job. So then I switched to Windsurf and had it help me with the README as well. And yeah, Cool. So that's all that. So the only thing that's left to do now is to actually sort out the domain-specific implementation, which is lead qualification in both a simple bot form and a flow bot form. And I'll get to that tomorrow.